Aw, shit. Here we go again.
Welcome to the Sloppy Book Club podcast. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Celeste, and welcome to season 4, episode 11. On this week's episode, we will be chatting with author Lizzy Barber and talk about her latest release. We also have a fun game we hope she wants to join in on, so let's
She has
get
no
started.
choice.
Hopefully, she'll enjoy our little game.
So let's just bring her on. Hi!
Hi, did we
We,
make it? Are we on the
we
right time?
made it. We
Yes.
finally made it. So I wasn't sure. I know we had spoken before, and you said you wanted to join in on like the little testing, like the taste testing. So I didn't know if you had a drink with you or
Yeah.
not. Yeah, okay. So perfect. We
Um,
waited for
right.
you.
It's called a picoso. It's like a spicy margarita soda, but with
Ooh.
no booze in it. Yeah.
That sounds
It's got
yummy.
zesty lime cut with Scotch bonnet.
Ooh,
That
that's
sounds
spicy.
Yeah,
delicious.
it's really good.
So, Lisa, you want to go ahead and share
Yeah,
your
it's
drink?
one that I've drank before. I love Carlson Orchards. They do a good hard cider, so it's always like apple-based
Hmm.
cider, and this is their raspberry shandy. I love it. And it's nice and cold. We're going through a heat wave, so it's perfect. And it's a
Yeah,
raspberry.
go away.
So, but cheers.
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 All right. So, I have a drink that I found, and it was perfect because it kind of matches the book theme.
Ooh.
It's called Killer Kool-Aid, and it's what does it does match perfectly. Southern Comfort, amaretto, and cranberry juice. I don't typically drink darker liquor, so and I've never
Mm.
had it. And I made it all by myself because my husband's not here.
I was gonna say yours definitely the fancier.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
looks
good.
that looks really good.
It's a
Look
little bit cough
at you.
syrupy,
Oh.
Mm. Yeah, I
but
find
it's
that with
good.
Southern Comfort.
Yeah. I'll drink it. It's fine.
Yeah.
You made it.
I did make it. Probably should have added more cranberry juice,
Mm.
but it's all good.
Well, Lizzy, we are very excited to have you on. But before we get into your book and you get to introduce yourself, Jenny has a little game for us to play, so we're hoping you would join in on
Hey,
Yes,
sure.
we're not
I
gonna.
should have gone for an alcoholic drink, shouldn't I?
It's an easy game.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you know who Gwyneth Paltrow is? The
Yes.
actress? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know, people might not know. All right, so this game is Who Said It? Gwyneth Paltrow or a cult leader. Okay?
Oh, it's amazing. Okay.
All right, so a long time ago, being crazy meant something. Nowadays, everybody's crazy. Who said it?
Gwyneth.
Okay, no, it was Charles
Was it Gwyneth?
Manson. It does sound like
You know
something she
what?
would say.
Yeah, but Charles Manson was actually going to be my next.
Yep,
But
it
he was
was
the
him.
go-to for the cult leader.
Okay, next one. We're human beings and the sun is the sun. How can it be bad for you? I don't think anything that's natural can be bad for you.
See, I don't know if Gwyneth likes to tan. Is it L. Ron Hubbard?
It was Gwyneth Paltrow.
Lovely. Great work.
Yeah. All right, next one. When we smile, the world smiles with us. Each experience of joy is an experience of joy for all people and victory for humankind.
David Koresh.
Keith Raniere
Not Gwyneth. Oh, yeah,
from
of
Nexium,
course.
I think that's what it's called.
But it wasn't Gwen,
Yes.
so you got a point.
It was not Gwen.
I get a point. Yeah,
Yeah, so
I should have just been more generous. Yeah.
that's okay. Technically, if you mention a cult leader, you get a point. Um, I was starting to hike up the red rocks, and honestly, it was as if I heard the rocks say, You have the answers. You are your teacher. I thought I was having an auditory hallucination.
That sounds kind of cuckoo enough to be Gwyneth, especially because she's mentioning hiking.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So my last one is I think it's incredibly embarrassing when people are drunk.
Does she not drink? I'm going to say Gwyneth again.
And you're right.
You are correct.
Okay, so I have some. It says never
Okay.
too old, never too bad, never too late, never too sick to start from scratch once again.
Is that like, not that it's a cult? Is that like Church of the Latter-day Saints?
So it is a cult leader, and this is
Okay.
Bikram Chowdhury, I believe is how you say it. I could be saying
Oh,
the last name wrong.
yeah.
I don't know how to
From, was
say
that
it.
the documentary? I can't remember what the documentary was called now. Yeah.
There was a documentary, yeah.
Yeah. The yoga one or something like that. Yeah.
All right. The next one is every woman can make time to work out. Every woman.
That's got to be Gwyneth because I don't even know any female cult leaders apart from Gwyneth. Yeah. Nice. Thanks, Gwyneth. Just make us all feel shit.
Right?
Right. I was just like, excuse you.
I was kind of hoping it was a male cult leader because
Right.
typical.
I would rather die than let my kid eat a cup of soup.
Do you have cup of soup in America? I thought that was an English thing.
Do
We
we?
I'm going Gwyneth.
We do?
we do. We call it cup of
What the
noodle.
brand?
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm saying Gwyneth again. Maybe they must
Oh,
be English. Was it
yes,
Gwyneth? Yeah.
that
I
was
think I did know
definitely
that.
her.
Yeah.
A lot of
Nice.
people are tired around here, but I'm not sure they're ready to lie down, stretch out, and fall asleep.
Is that L. Ron Hubbard? Oh no, or David Miscavige. This feels like this feels Scientology to me.
No, it's someone
Oh,
named Jim Jones.
oh, Jim. Yeah, Jim Jones was he was the Kool-Aid, wasn't he?
was he? I don't know a lot about them. They creep me out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And my last one is I am who I am. I can't pretend to be someone who makes $25,000 a year.
Gwyneth again.
That was Gwen. Yes.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal.
God forbid
Right?
25,000.
You. Again, way to make everyone feel bad.
Right.
Yeah,
All right. So, would you like to introduce yourself to us and everyone?
sure. Yeah. So I am Lizzy Barber. I am a the Rich and Judy and now Amazon, thanks to Be Mine, best-selling author of psychological thrillers. My first book, my name is Anna, which is called A Girl Named Anna in the States, came out in 2019. And then Out of Her Depth was a Rich and Judy pick, and Nanny Wanted came out 2 years ago, and Be Mine is my latest twisty turny thriller about a young woman named Beth who left a mysterious wellness group called Elixir 10 years ago, only to find the past has not stayed in the past.
Mm.
I live in London with my husband and my two very tiring children.
Before we get into the book, Be Mine, would you like to tell us how or when you decided to become an author and what has been your inspiration to keep going?
So my journey is quite unusual. I'd always written kind of stories when I was younger, and I was always kind of toying with things, but it wasn't something that I actually thought that I was going to form a career out of. And then I had this very strange period in my life where my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, and my best friend, both for different reasons, ended up going to the States. My husband was in San Francisco for 6 months, and my best friend moved to New York. And I felt this kind of period in my life where I was like, what am I doing? What am I going to do for me? And so I started a writing course. And actually, the book that I was working on then was something kind of very, very different, very literary. based a kind of historical novel based on my grandmother's life. She had this kind of crazy exotic life where she was born in Israel and then moved to Cairo and then came over to the UK. And I basically got to a sticking point with it and I didn't know what to do. And then I had this idea for a book about imagining what would happen if on your 18th birthday you suddenly realize that you're not who you think you are. And it is basically the case of a girl who finds out. This isn't really a spoiler alert because it's more of a who done it and a why done it. A girl who finds out that she is the biggest missing person case that the world has ever known. And I started writing this book, and then my mum, I told my mum about it, and she mentioned to me that she had seen a competition in the paper, a writing competition, and she told me about it on the last day of the competition, and I was so nervous and worried about the entry getting there that I couriered it to the competition entry address, and I'd only written the first 3 chapters and a cover letter, and then absolutely forgot about it. And then about 3 months later, I got a call from Luigi Bonomi at LBA Associates, which was a literary agency, to tell me that I had won the competition. And not only had I won the competition, the prize for the competition was a publishing deal with Penguin Random House and Luigi and LBA Associates representing me and in advance. So it's totally wild. I will never ever forget that day. And so I was kind of thrown into publishing in a very different way from people who either, write a book and then get an agent and then they work with the agent to get the publisher. It all kind of happened at once for me. And everything kind of clicked in place in me after that point where I suddenly realized that this was something that I really wanted to do and was kind of where my life had been kind of leading me to. I believe a lot in fate. And so that book came out in 2019, which was right after the birth, literally 10 days after my son was born, 10 days after the book came out. And actually, the first time I saw the book in a bookshop was the day that my waters broke. So I was like, what happened?
Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. He was so excited. He actually came early. So he's so excited about seeing the book, clearly. And then my second book was very much influenced by a period of my life that I lived in Florence when I was 18. And obviously, because it's a thriller, it's a lot darker and I didn't murder anybody. But it was about the idea of being young and free in this really glamorous, exotic place and what happens when that all goes wrong. And then my third book is a gothic, not completely different, but it's a gothic thriller. It's very much an homage to Rebecca and Daphne du Maurier. It's set in Cornwall, which is the kind of British, very kind of dramatic British coast. And it is about a nanny who gets a job working for a very strange couple called the Rose. And she gets kind of pulled into their very dark, claustrophobic relationship and all the kind of strangeness underneath the surface. And then I started thinking about what to write for my next book. And my agent said to me, Lizzy, you really like cults. Why don't you write something based on a cult? And I didn't really want to write something about a religious cult. I'm very interested in zealous groups of all kinds and zealous organizations and extremism. But I wanted to write something a bit different. And I think that for me, with all of my books, I get all of this information from all these different areas. So my son's game has just started playing. It's very cute. I don't know how to turn it off, obviously. There we go. So I get kind of I get kind of a lot of kind of sensory overload when I'm writing a book. The fifth book is an absolute disaster at the moment. I'm in drafting stage, and so I think I'd watched and listened to quite a few documentaries about NXIVM and was really fascinated. And I read the original article when it came out, where it dropped about Keith Raniere in NXIVM. And then there are a couple of made-for-TV movies. One, The Dropout, which was about Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes, and the other was We Crashed, which is about WeWork. And then I started kind of gestating this idea of kind of American, very heavily branded organizations and how they operate and act like cults. And so then I started to get this idea about wellness and the kind of big drive for wellness that we really see now, and this idea of We are an irreligious society. Where do we turn for to feel a sense of belonging and to kind of have guidance and leadership? As you hear from Gwyneth, every woman has a needs to work out. Every woman is able to work out. Thanks.
Yeah.
So these things kind of started to pull together in my head, and then I thought, who can I put in this narrative? And that's when I really thought of the idea of somebody who'd escaped and got away. And then I thought, having been a new mother, because you guys are both mothers, aren't you?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So having been through the newborn stage, I thought, what poor creature am I going to throw into this mix? And that was really where Beth's story came out. And I really wanted to write the experience of having a newborn and experience of new motherhood. And so poor Beth has got thrown into this story, having left Elixir, which is my cult, 10 years earlier. And so it's a dual timeline. It's all about who Beth was 10 years ago to get herself caught up in this organization, what happened within that organization, and why she is running from it now, 10 years later, and the threats to her and her identity as a new mother.
And it is so, so good.
I
I've read
love
it
dual
twice.
time.
I've
Oh,
read
thank
it
you.
twice. It
Thank
is
you.
so good.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun with it as well. I had a little bit too much fun coming up with
It makes me wonder, like, did you stay up at night because of it? Because dual timelines, going into like this cult kind of like mind. Like, do you stay up at night thinking about it, especially
I
getting all this information taken in? Like, I think I
I
would be
yeah.
intrigued, but then kind of spook myself out
Weird.
at the same
Yeah.
time.
I don't think, I mean, I don't stay up at night because I spook myself out, but I do get very, very immersed in the world of whatever I'm writing.
Mhm.
And particularly because so my daughter was born a year ago, and I was working part-time until she was born. And so I had this period of writing the most of my books where I was working 3 days a week, and then Thursday and Friday were my writing days.
Mm.
And so during that period, I had to kind of compartmentalize everything, but it meant that all of this stuff was swirling around the rest of the week, and I couldn't. It was almost like the genie was out of the bottle, and I couldn't contain it. So yeah, absolutely, and that's for me, for better or for worse, definitely for worse at the moment. Where I get to with writing is it just is utterly consuming, and it's kind of living in some kind of level of my subconscious at any point in time, which is
Oh
very
my God.
stressful when you're
I
trying to
could
That
contain.
only
is
imagine.
stressful. I
Yeah.
feel like I would forget everything during the week trying to like wait for my like small amount of time to write something. I feel like I would forget
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, I do. I put things down, or I write things down. At the moment, I'm not back. I'm not going back to work in an office. But I still, because of having young children, I still have to compartmentalize everything. So I'll get like a couple of windows a day during that time. I have a very small amount of kind of nanny time. Um, but yeah, the rest of that time, it's more than just it's like churning over in my head. It's like trying to think through plot points and trying to think through ideas. The characters are just like living in my head, like trying to bang down the door and be like, just write the thing.
So as you're writing, like, do you have like music going? Are you quiet? Do you drink something, have a snack? Like, how do you prepare to write?
This is this feels like the least like literary and like I don't know writerly way of as a confession, but I basically rewatch. This is ridiculous. I basically rewatch the Gilmore Girls every time I write a book. I
Okay.
have always, actually, funny enough, I have another writer friend called Charlotte Duckworth, and it's not necessarily a joke, but I basically think I have ADHD, and I watched a clip on she sent me something on TikTok, or one of us saw something on TikTok about kind of signs of people having ADHD, and one of them is not being able to sit in silence. And I have always had to have, it's not necessarily music, although I used music quite a lot with Be Mine because it was quite atmospheric, but I've always had to have some sort of spoken word going on in the background whenever I'm writing. But it can't be something that's too engaging. So it's got to be something that I've seen before. Even like when I was at university, I did my university finals with the TV on in the background. I just need that level to zone in. And so yeah, so when I'm at home, I have the Gilmore Girls playing. I mean, there's a lot of it, so it works quite well, and I write quite slowly.
Mhm.
But then I also do like going to coffee shops. It's just harder at the moment because of the snatch amount of time I have. But I like being in coffee shops. I like having chatter going on. I also much prefer being out the house because I get distracted really easily. So there's always something to do, isn't there? Right? You've always got the washing to put on, or I don't know. Do you guys work outside the home? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, there's always something to do when you're surrounded by your mess. So I prefer to go out.
Do you ever go through writer's block and like do you have any advice for other authors that go through it?
I always go through writer's block, not in the sense of I don't know what book to write, because I tend to have an idea of what I want to write before I've finished the one that I'm working on. Something
Mhm.
kind of insinuates itself on me. But yeah, I constantly have this is what I'm going through at the moment, especially with plotting. I get stuck. And unfortunately, there isn't really some magic cure. I mean, if anybody knows it, I'm at Lizzy Barber, Lizzy with a Y. Please tell me what the magic cure is. That I have a writers group that I speak to a lot on WhatsApp every day, and unfortunately, the only way to do it is to write through it, and it's so painful. And maybe trying something different. So are you guys familiar with the idea of a plotter or a pantser?
I'm,
So
but I think Jenny is, yeah.
no, it's the idea is that you get two kinds of writers. You get the ones who are the plotters, where everything is meticulously drawn out. They have the spreadsheets, they have the sticky notes, they have maps. And then you have people like me who are pantsers, where they go, okay, I'm going to write a novel. Here we go, chapter one. And that tends to be how I do things. And it's not to say completely like sit down with a blank page with no ideas. I always have a very, very, very strong image of this setup, and I have a very strong image of the end, and I don't know how to get from one to the other. Um, but I have now found that about a third of the way through, when I'm through all of that initial setup, I get really stuck. And so at the moment, what I'm doing with the book I'm writing is basically going back to the beginning and writing a really long synopsis, which is basically my form of plotting, because I'm so stuck. And with Be Mine, it took, it was a lot of rewriting, to be honest with you as well. And actually, even the big twist in it was not there in the beginning. It was something that I had along the journey that I suddenly thought, oh, that's it. And unfortunately, those magic moments, you can't. It's a bit like, when you go out and you really want the evening to be a really good evening, but you can't fashion it yourself. You have like the best evenings are like the really organic ones where for some reason everybody's just in the right frame of mind, and then I don't know, you stumble upon a bar opening and they let you in and the weather's really nice and you feel like you look great. It's like that. You can't, it's got to be organic. You can't do anything artificial in order to create those moments. And unfortunately, that's what plotting a book is like.
I can only imagine.
Right. What do you like to do when you're not writing? Like, what is your escape?
Um, I think, well, much like Beth in Elixir, I like to exercise. I really enjoy. I live by. It's quite. I don't think people associate London with canals, but we live by a really beautiful canal called Regent's Canal, and you can get really, really far out away, basically from the urban world, right into the middle of kind of, it's not actually forest, but kind of fields and grassland. So I love going on really long runs, and I like dance classes.
Oh,
And
that's
then I also,
fun.
yeah, I've always danced. I did ballet for like years and years and years, basically until the pandemic. And I also do a kind of street dance class every week that I really enjoy, because I like doing stuff where my my body is occupied and then my subconscious can kind of be let free a bit.
Hmm.
Um, and I love cooking. So I worked when I was working, I worked in the restaurant business with my brother for nearly 15 years, doing all the brand and marketing for him. And then I'm a massive pop culture junkie. So I love going to cinema. I love TV, books. I went to see 28 Years Later last night. That just,
Ooh, I
you
can't
guys,
wait.
I can't wait. I
it
want to
is
see that.
I'm
so good.
excited.
Hmm.
Have you guys seen the other ones?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh man, this is the best. A friend told me that this was the best of the three, and
Oh
honestly,
my
I'm
God.
still tense from seeing it yesterday. But it's just a perfect movie because it's got that blend of heart and plot as well, which I love in anything. For me, I have to have really strong characters. I'm not an action movie person. I need to see the heart, and that they've really, I mean, for a zombie movie, which is so not normally my cup of tea, I think that they've just really aced it.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
that's
excited.
exciting.
We have
Yeah.
to wait because my 14-year-old just started getting into horror movies. So
Oh,
we're going through like all the Conjuring movies right now, and then
oh,
we're gonna do
amazing.
that next. So we'll do like the whole 28 days, 28 years later afterwards. So I have to wait
Oh,
because he's
I can't wait for my son
young.
to be into horror movies.
And I
He's
have to
excited.
wait because mine are too young. So I always have to find a sitter. And people are
How old are
always
yours?
sleeping. So I have a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh, oh, so
So so
similar
they're
gap.
not
I've got a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old.
so like not into thrillers yet. Maybe my 9-year-old, but definitely not my 3-year-old. So finding a sitter for us to go out and watch a movie is
Yeah,
a process.
yeah, yeah. No, I can appreciate that.
So you mentioned a little bit about how you got started writing thrillers. So do you think have you had any interest in writing in other genres, or is thrillers like your go-to? That's what you're sticking with? I mean, they
Um,
all sound really great. They're all on my TBR. I started clicking away. I was like, yes, yes, yes.
um, so when I wrote My Name is Anna, a girl named Anna, I didn't really, I was such a noob that I didn't really think about being a genre writer or only having to write in one voice or one type of book. So I think that my mind at that point was really open to, I didn't really think about what I was going to write next and I was going to be a thriller writer. But now I almost feel like I would love to write in another genre, but I feel like I almost don't know how to write another book. I'm so, you get so used to the beats of a thriller and you're so ingrained in the world of thrillers and you read so many thrillers that I'd love to eventually. I really want to get to a place, again, talking about young children, where my children are both in school and I have the full days to be able to explore and maybe write, books simultaneously. But at the moment, to be honest, I'm in like survival mode for just trying to get the one out. So
Yeah.
never say never, but at the moment, it's thrillers is where I'm at.
So you do write, and you said you did marketing for a restaurant
Yeah,
before.
restaurant group. Yeah.
Um, is there like a job or a career you would want if you weren't a writer, or would you have stayed in marketing?
Uh, don't tell my brother I would have stayed in marketing. No, I mean, I think the marketing and branding was great. That came about again, I feel like I kind of land on all of these things. So that came about in a really kind of serendipitous way where my brother's a lot older than me and he had a restaurant group. So he's 15 years older than me. He's had a restaurant group for years and I wanted to work in the film industry when I graduated from university. I actually wanted to be an actress. And then I basically screwed up my final auditions for drama school. And so the other thing I wanted to do was work in film development, and I graduated in really horrendous time. I graduated in 2009. So basically, there were no jobs, and I interned. I interned for loads of really famous film companies. I was very nearly Harvey Weinstein's assistant. I worked for the Weinstein Company twice. They were actually very nice, but nobody actually was doing any but giving any paid jobs. And so then my brother lost his marketing person. He said, "Look, can you just cover this person who's about to open a new restaurant?" And I basically just stayed. I just really liked it. I loved working with my brother as well. It was a really exciting time in London, in particular for the food industry, because I don't know if you guys, if this is kind of a stereotype that you think of, but kind of historically, London and the UK was thought to have had a really crap food scene. And then suddenly we've had this massive boom in the last kind of 15, 20 years of the London food scene being incredible. And I got super into it and it was super exciting being part of it. Um, but I think, well, for a start, it's just like, I think one kid and two jobs is fine. Two kids and two jobs is the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, and this is really my opportunity, I think, to try and write full time and dedicate time to that and the kind of lovely readers and the opportunity that I've got to be able to do it. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
probably if I had to pick another career, I definitely say that acting for me was a real high, especially stage acting. I think I'll never ever feel anything like the feeling of going on stage. If it was like a dream career that you would, no
Hmm.
holds barred. And then film development was the other thing that I was really excited by.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I would vomit being on stage. I
Really,
couldn't do it.
This is
Couldn't
hard
do it.
enough.
Yeah.
And it's just
really.
two of us. And one of
Yeah.
them I've known for years and I still get nervous. So to be up on stage, it reminds me of when I was in college and I had to take it was like a speech course. And
Oh,
our
my
final
nightmare.
was our final was, having to do a speech in front of the class. And it was the worst experience I've ever had because
God,
public speaking is just like it's so scary. But I did it. I passed the class, but I know like I was like sweating.
I
I
mean,
bet.
public speaking for me is, I think I'm kind of with you on that. It's very different. I think like acting, you're kind of hiding behind something,
That's true.
That's true.
and creating a character. I mean, I don't find talking about books. I don't find that scary at all. And I'm very happily kind of do podcasts and panels and stuff like that. But I think it's because it's a world I know. But if I had to kind of like debating at school, I really didn't like having to think off the top of your head
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
form arguments. No, not good with that.
God. I'm getting nervous just thinking about it.
Flashbacks. I'm
Yeah.
Yeah,
sweating.
PTSD. All right, so let's get into your book, Be Mine. You already told us a little bit about what the book is, so I'm gonna challenge you. Can you describe the book in like 3 words?
I suppose mum escaped cult. There we go.
Mom escaped
That's
gold.
perfect. Love it.
Now,
Also, the covers, amazing. I love
Oh,
them both.
yeah,
I
they're so
couldn't
good.
not buy the one that came
Oh,
out, even though I really love the arc. I just had to have them. They're both really,
I
really
love
good.
the art. I hadn't even seen the art before
So
before
pretty.
they got it out there, and I love it so much. I always love the arcs, though. I think that they can be a bit more mysterious and like a bit
Hmm.
less kind of commercial than the books. But the final cover, and this is a new publisher for me, Datura, and it was a really collaborative process, which I've never really had before, where we really kind of went
Nice.
over it, and they showed me lots of different examples, and we fed back with my agency. And we even tweaked, like there was a door knocker that had the Alexis symbol, and we were like, can we take that off? Can we put the palm leaves on? So it was really great. And Mark, who designed the cover, is a genius. It's a really, really great cover. I love it.
Great
I love
job.
that you had a say in it and like
Hmm.
Yeah.
because we hear a lot of times sometimes they don't.
No, you
And
don't normally.
so that's awesome. Now, this is, cult related. Was there something that you saw or heard that really inspired this particular story for you to come up with the plot and your like idea of what was happening? Was it something you saw or read?
Well, so it was a variety of different influences that came together. I mean, obviously the motherhood side of things was my own personal experience. Well, actually, not really my personal experience. I mean, a lot of it was, Beth is a very different person to me, a very different character to me. I'm an extrovert. She's very much an introvert, necessarily so. But the kind of feelings and emotions of being a new mother was all very much based on my own experiences. And then it was really, I mean, it was cherry picking a lot of kind of modern day wellness brands. Having talked about Gwyneth Paltrow, Goop was a big influence,
Yes.
Yeah.
Lululemon, and then yeah, the documentaries about Theranos and We Worked, and I have to say Nexium. But I mean, there were loads of stories that came into this. There was a documentary called The Devil in the Dorm about, I can't remember his name now, but it was a father who moved into his daughter's campus, her college campus. It was Sarah Lawrence, and he basically turned a load of the college kids into a cult, and he behaved really like it was a lot of mental and physical torture of basically
Wow.
making it was like modern slavery. So there's bits of that in there. There's I think, well, there's a little bit of Scientology, but I didn't want to push too much into that because I didn't want it to be a kind of, it's not a religious manifesto. And then actually the other thing that I was really influenced by was I think she's called Amanda Monsell, wrote a book called Cultish, which is all about the language of cults. And she has a podcast called sounds like a cult, I think it's called, but all about how these modern groups, if you kind of look at them in the right way, they all sound like a cult. Like Peloton, there's a wellness phenomenon called Hard 75. I don't know if you've heard of that one. So
No.
all of the, I just basically write loads of notes, and I think like, oh, this is a really telling phrase, like Hard 75. A lot of the so I have little transcripts throughout the book, which are kind of excerpts from the manifesto of this of Elixir. And a lot of the language from that I took from Hard 75, which is all about like, the only failure is you, the only way is up, but all of this kind of like boot camp style language I was really fascinated by. So yeah, it's a whole like melting pot of different things,
That's
really, in my
interesting.
weird
I'm
way.
gonna have to listen to that podcast because so my husband's gonna be so mad at me for saying this. So I tell him all the time, you, if in another life, could have been a cult leader. He is such a good talker, and we have like this inside joke that that sounds like a cult. Exactly what you said. That sounds like a cult. That sounds like a cult. So I'm gonna have to listen to it, and then I could just play it for him, so I could prove to him everything
Then
that I'm
before
saying
you
is right.
like, you sound like a cult. No, it's really fun. It's worth a listen because it does just make you start to realize the kind of powers of persuasion. And as
Yeah.
somebody who worked in branding, it's interesting to see how it is a branding exercise as well, isn't it? It's like what makes people want to buy into you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of things can be cult-like sometimes.
Yeah,
Like when people like this is it. This is what you need to do and follow, and this is
Yes.
mm,
how it should be kind of thing. I would even say sometimes readers can be a little cult-like,
yeah,
when they overly
Mhm.
obsess about something. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting how wellness can be that way, religion can be that way, and something as simple as reading with a huge group of people is just like you said, it's how people like buy into it.
yeah.
So it's
And
really
it's group, it's community, it's
mhm,
building kind of very strong friendships.
mhm.
Now you mentioned the whole plotting and pantser thing. So for you, I know you said your book changed a lot when you were writing it. How how did you work the whole multiple timeline thing? Because it worked out
Oh,
perfectly. Like
always
every time
interested in that.
I love it so much and I feel like my brain would just blow up if I were trying to write something like that. And
I'm
I want to know
always
how it
fascinated
worked for
by dual
you.
timelines. Like that's I don't I like I wish someone can like do one of those like neurological tests to see how like authors do dual timelines and like what synapses like spark in it because that's really hard. You're thinking of two di separate times, and I believe you said it was about 10 years apart, correct?
Yeah, there was 10 years
That's
apart.
a gap.
I mean, I think maybe this just goes back to the ADHD that I can't focus on one thing at the same time. But uh, it it's how my brain works. Actually, I've only written one book, which is one single point of view timeline all the way through. So my first book was two characters. My second book was past and present. Then
Okay.
the third one was straight. This one is dual timelines, and then the one I'm writing at the moment is dual timeline. I think I'm really interested in the idea of the past coming to haunt the present. So I think that's for me that's the way that my brain works with my books is it's always about unpicking the mystery of something that's happened in the past and how that's affecting the character in present day. Um,
Mhm.
I use if there are any aspiring writers out there who are looking for tools, I use a platform called Scrivener, which has been life-changing for me because we're talking like 90,000 word novels. And if you're writing that all in a Word document, particularly with dual timelines, it is so time consuming to kind of be scrolling up and down, moving things around. Whereas with Scrivener, it's basically like each chapter is in a little folder. And so you can literally drag and drop things around. So I move things around. When I'm writing, I tend to write, especially not this book, but this disaster book at the moment. When I'm writing and I'm pantsing, I tend to like, I'll write a chapter. So say I'm writing Beth in the present, and I've written to the end of her meeting Mia, who's one of the secondary characters, and I'm really in that zone, and I know what's going to happen next. then I will keep writing that scene, or that the next chapter. And then, when I get a bit stuck with that, I might go back to the past, and, I've got to Beth going to Tate's mansion. And I will write that chapter, and then it's really only and really, really final draft stages for me where, I've got those chapters in certain order, but I start to think, that bit actually needs to go here. That affects this flow. So it's all due to the power of Scrivener that I can move things around, but my brain does jump around a lot. And I should probably sit very calmly and write a chapter outline and know exactly what's going on, but I can't. I really can't.
No, it's
Well,
well
it
for
was
you.
perfect. Yeah.
Now, out of any of your books, is there a particular scene or line that you look back on and you're like, wow, I wrote that. Like, and you kind of give yourself a pat on the back. Like, is there a particular scene or line from any of your books that like you go back and you're like, wow, I really did that.
I mean, but I think I'm not alone with other authors in saying that reading your books back is like listening to your voice back on tape. Like it's like nails down a blackboard. It's so unbearable. So I have like very good selective amnesia where I just basically try and forget everything. I think with Be Mine, my favorite bit of the whole book, and it's not even like a great like literary, beautifully written scene, but my favorite thing to write in that book and the thing I'm most proud of is there is an interview with Tate Larson, who is the cult leader, done in the style of a kind of women's health magazine, like profile piece. And I just had so much fun because also it was a little bit tongue in cheek. It was a little bit, there was a bit of parody in there. And as a thriller writer, you don't get to necessarily have that much fun writing that kind of thing. So there was a real joy in being able to kind of send up the wellness industry and send up these type of articles. So I think that for me was a real, that's I loved writing that. I think it's not even necessarily out of a proudness point of view, but I just really enjoyed it.
So I knew she was going to ask this, and I tabbed a part in the book that I still remember to this day after reading it. And I'm going to read it. I hate reading out loud, so bear with me.
Very fascinating.
Okay. It's kind of a long one. See, I highlighted it and
Oh,
everything. Oh
this
my
is the
God.
first time I've ever seen my book tabbed and highlighted as
Oh,
well.
yep. It's
Really
it's plenty
lovely.
of tabbed. I don't know if you can
Oh, thank
tell.
you. Yeah, I can see.
All right, so this is from Tate's Elixir Manifesto. You are not a victim, so stop acting like one. As soon as you frame yourself as a victim, you are denying yourself agency. And a person who lacks agency lacks culpability, means they also lack the power to change. Think about it. You accept praise for your successes, so why would you not accept blame for your failures also? The lazy person, aka the victim, thinks, why is this happening to me? When instead they should be thinking, what have I done wrong? Realizing that only you are at fault, only you are to blame, is one of the most powerful tools we equipped you with in Elixir. And the reason I highlighted that was because that is probably the moment that I was like, I would fall into a cult. I would literally be like, wow, okay.
No, I'm listening to it and I'm like, wow, that's kind of like powerful.
I was like, oh
Yeah,
my
And then
God.
I'm like, wait, wasn't that the cult leader?
Yes, it was.
it's still about the
Yes, it
art of
was.
manipulation. I think that's why cult leaders really interest me. They are so captivating and so charming, and they
They
have
really
exactly the
are.
right powers of persuasion. Or
Hmm.
maybe I'm just a cult leader and this is all part of my evil plan.
Maybe. Scary. All right, so who do you think is the easiest and most difficult character to write in this book for you, or was the easiest and most
Um,
difficult?
I'm trying to say something without, I don't want to give a plot twist away. So I think Beth's character arc was very difficult to write. But well, actually, yeah, Beth and Marissa's character arcs were very difficult to write. You know why? Because you've read the book. But because it had to be such a gradual process whereby who you were feeling sympathy for um,
Yes.
had to be very, very carefully plotted out. So I would say both of them. From a plotting point of view, Mia, who comes into the present day as a new friend of Beth's, was always there as a character, and I needed her there, and I could not work out why she was there. And I had all of these question marks being like, is she connected to Adam? Was she in the cult? And so that was really interesting to me because I never had that where she just appeared and I knew she was important, but I couldn't work out why. But the easiest one to write was Tate because I just had so much fun creating him and I could see him so strongly in my mind.
Yeah.
He's played by Alexander Skarsgård in my brain, by the way.
Who is it?
Oh,
Alexander Skarsgård. Did you watch
Oh, I don't.
True Blood?
I love
No,
Oh, I'm trying to think what else
I
he was in.
know.
Tarzan.
So he was in Succession. He played one of the
Right? What?
Swedish guys.
He's one of the Skarsgård brothers.
Yeah,
The
very
was he the one in
I'll have to
the
look him up. What's his
Beautiful
last name?
Beautiful Liars?
Skarsgård. I haven't watched that yet.
What else is he in? He's actually in a lot of films.
I
Yeah,
probably know who
I
it
mainly
is,
just know
and
him from True Blood. Yeah, he was in Tarzan. You're right. I've forgotten that. Also, his IMDb picture is a picture of him he's not wearing any trousers, which is very
oh,
strange.
okay, I know
Big
who that
Little
is.
Lies. Yeah, yeah. He was the husband in Nicole Kidman's husband in Big Little Lies.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I'm a huge
I
fan,
know who he
so
is.
Yeah, well, there we go. You can start naming. Yeah.
I'm a
So,
huge
so
Skarsgård fan. I love all the brothers. I
they
love the
are.
dad's work. Like they're all incredible actors, honestly.
You're right.
Now, I know you do a lot of thrillers, the psychological thrillers, but is there a character that you would want to spend the day with? Like if you could spend the day with
Yeah,
one of your characters, who would it be? And what would
probably.
you do?
Well, probably Marissa. She has a really cool car. And she's living like the high life in. I mean, she's a cool girl, you know. Beth meets her in the line to Blue Bottle Coffee, and she instantly got it. Like she's talking to the bartenders about like the niche coffee beans, and has a like really cute apartment in Cow Hollow. Like, yeah, I would just hang out with her,
Mhm.
and go shopping,
I
and
could
not go
see
to any
that.
extra classes.
I thought about this question, and I was thinking Ingrid because I feel like she would probably bring some good food.
Yes,
And
yes,
she's,
with her husband.
yeah, I almost spoiled something. So I'll shut up.
It's quite
All
difficult with
right.
this one. Not spoil things.
Now, I know you mentioned you're like in writing another book right now, and it's kind of all over the place, but is there anything you can give us from that? If not, do you have anything coming up that you want to tell us? Any signings or anything?
No, so I think we can. So where I'm giving 90s like latchkey kids,
Okay.
small town America, gothic vibe
Nice.
with a present day twist, or a present day plot. That's where I'm at the moment.
Okay.
I'm still working on nailing it, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's very much the vibe I'm going for. Think like female-led Stephen King group of kids biking around town.
Perfect. I'll be patiently waiting.
Yep, Jenny will eat that up. I already know
Good, good.
it.
Gothic is like my favorite type of theme vibe. So
I
with it
think,
being
yeah,
thriller also.
weirdly, all my books seem to have a kind of gothic. They're all quite slow burn. They're quite like I love atmosphere. I love like really feeling like you've got a kind of VR headset on and you're like seeing one in front of you. So yeah, hopefully, if
Perfect.
you write gothic, Nanny Wanted is the gothic one for you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna read them all anyway, but
Do you have any book signings or virtual like signings that you'll be doing and want to?
Um, I'm going to be. It's not a strictly a signing, but I'm going to be at a big British literary festival called Harrogate. Well, it's actually called Theakston's Crime Festival, but everybody in the writing world calls it Harrogate. So I'm going to be there from Thursday to Saturday. It's like I don't even know what the dates are, but it's the Thursday to the Saturday. And it's a crime and thriller festival, and everybody
Cool.
descends on this like very quaint um, Yorkshire town called Harrogate, which is like very charming. And it's basically a lot of thriller writers, a lot of thriller readers, bloggers, influencers, if you can call them that, hanging out together, going to talks, and I will be around. So if anybody is there, then I will always sign books and I will always chat to people. I love talking to people, basically. I'm very friendly. So please come and say
I
That
wish we
sounds
could go.
fun.
I know.
yeah. You should. It's wild. I keep telling my husband that it's like Writers Glastonbury. And I don't know if you watch Parks and Recreations. Did you watch it? So
I
you know
watched a
when
little bit of it.
okay. So Ron, who's like this very kind of like I don't know, solid, very kind of unaffected man, goes to a woodworking festival and he's obsessed with woodworking. And he sees all of these really famous woodworking people that obviously nobody else on the planet has ever heard of. And he gets really giddy and excited. And every time I say that this is like, oh, do you guys know what Glastonbury is? It's like a huge British music festival. Imagine like
The
No.
Woodstock,
music
yeah,
festival,
music
right? The
festival.
big,
Yeah.
big,
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah, so it's huge. Yeah, it's like Coachella, but less cool because we're English and it's muddy. Um, but yeah, so it's like our Coachella, but instead he said no, it's like Ron's Woodworking Festival, and that like it's this very niche group of people who like
Okay.
thrillers. But it's awesome. If you guys ever come to the UK, come in the summer and go to Harrogate.
Good to
I do
know.
want to visit the UK. It's a dream.
Mhm.
It's fun.
Where are you guys? Where are you based?
Massachusetts.
Oh, lovely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, sweating away in the
Oh,
heat
Yes.
wave.
yeah.
100-degree weather.
We're not quite 100 degrees, but the UK houses are not built for any kind of heat. So our house is just like soaking it all up at the moment. I'm actually in my pajamas because I was so hot from running around after my daughter all day that I came home and was like, I'm just my pajamas.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah, it is.
Unfortunately, we are coming close to the end of our um episode. Um, but we always like to end with a book recommendation. So what's one book you always recommend? And it could be anything.
Um, Actually, it's not. It's become a favorite over the last couple of years, but Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll is one of the best books that I've read in the last few years. It's an incredible portrayal of a 70s serial killer who's swept through a college dorm, but it's more about the fallout for the girls that and the victims than it is about the serial killer. And the serial killer is deliberately kind of
Okay.
vague, and it is masterful, and it's so engaging. So yeah,
Ooh,
that's my
It sounds
sounds
really good.
interesting.
Hmm.
right. Yeah, it's really good. Very slow and atmospheric.
Do you typically read within like the genre that you write in? Are you like a psychological thriller kind of person when like reader, or do you dabble in a lot of different genres when you're reading?
I'm like that really cliche writer whose mum took them to the bookstore or the library every single weekend, and I would come home with stacks of books and would just read everything and everything. So I'm still like that. I'm a massive reader. As an author, you get quite a lot of proofs, which is amazing because you get to read lots of other authors' books. So then I find that when I've read a lot of proofs, they're always within my genre. So I like to step out and then read something completely different. I just read a book called The Names by Florence Knapp, which is I don't know if it's out in the US yet, but that's just I mean it's kind of literary spec fiction. It's about a woman who's she registers her son's name as three different names depending on the timeline you're in. And it's all about
Huh.
how the name affects who he becomes and her relationship with him. That is beautiful and kind of scary and dark. It's about domestic violence, and yeah, it's fantastic. But that's completely off
Sounds
genre.
interesting.
Yeah,
Just adding to my TBR over here.
I love good writing,
Yeah, of course.
and exciting stories. So I don't really care what genre they are as long as they have that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really
Thank you for having
hope
me.
that we've convinced people enough to read your trippy cult thriller with great twists. I promise it is so, so good. I absolutely enjoyed it. Read it twice within the month. So, and I never do that ever. So
Thank
please go
you.
read it.
Well,
Yes. So
thank you
thank
guys for having me on.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
joining.
We hope you have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.